You can imagine by the time we came into KCCA 2011, this entire city of almost 4 million people during day, it had only 9 junctions signalized. So how much control do you have over traffic with just 9 junctions? Some of them not even working properly. I've been to a number of cities when we were preparing that project for the junctions. We went to quite a number of Japanese cities to look at the model that best suits Kampala. And we went to a city like Tokyo. The traffic control center of Tokyo is so huge that they control maybe about 18,000 junctions in the city. And it was clearly way beyond our capacity. We don't need it yet. We went to another city of, I think it was Nagoya, very huge. And we had to find a city which had similar characteristics to Kampala. And then that is the kind of control center we are prepared to manage in the city, and that is what is being designed. So the level of control of traffic that we had in Kampala was so low for the number of vehicles that we have. Even the infrastructure was of very low grade. So how many traffic police will you deploy at all those junctions without signals? You can't have that manpower. So we need to automate these things. These things are coming. I agree that that was Mr. Okwi. Dennis in Australia. I agree that things are taking quite long. But I think it would help if KCCA publicized all these programs and gave to the public the timelines under which they are going to happen. They are surely going to happen. Yeah.
Are you a leader? Do you know what leadership is? Do you understand change management or even transformation? What are you doing to change your life? A lot of people don't know what to do and how to do it, and how to go about the situation they find themselves in. And quite often, so many people are confused. But on the CEO bench, we strive to give you opportunity to be able to learn from those who are doing it well, those who have done it before, those who are doing it, those who are on the rise to the top, and those already on the top, and as well as those who are on the top coming down. This is the CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okila and it's a Friday. Welcome to the CEO Bench. Of course, this week we bring you a very interesting guest, the third female on the show, and we will be talking leadership, change management, and transformation. And of course, in today's rapidly changing world, learning to, of course, lead and design our organization to read the turbulence of time that comes with leadership challenges and change management is key in us making proper decisions that will take our organization forward, but also to allow us, manage impact of what we're trying to do. So today on the show, this program brings you Francis Birungi Odong, who is an executive director of UCOBAC. I'm yet to understand how to pronounce the entire word from her, but Francis, welcome to the show.
Thank you, thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine, I'm very well, thank you.
And welcome to the CEO Bench.
Thank you, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, in a nutshell, who is Francis?
So, who is Francis? So, Francis is Francis Birungi Odong, as you said. I am, what should I say? I work in UCOBAC, like you said. UCOBAC in full, it's a mouthful indeed. It's Uganda Community-Based Association for Women and Children's Welfare. I am married to one man. We have 4 children. I was born in Kenya, but I'm Ugandan. My parents were exiled in Kenya for a period of time. So we are a family of 7. And 6 of us were born in Kenya, and then we moved back to Uganda. So I have been partly raised in Kenya and partly raised in Uganda. So basically, that's who I am. I don't know if that's sufficient.
Yes. It's always difficult for people to say who they are and what they stand for.
Yes.
So Francis, welcome to the CEO Bench. We want to know more about you as an individual. How did you end up where you are in what you're doing today? Since you said you were born in Kenya because your parents were exiled in Kenya, why did you choose not to stay in Kenya than to return to Uganda to end up to what you're doing today?
Yeah. Really, that was not my choice. That was my parents' choice. I'm sure them living in Kenya was not by choice. It was because of the circumstances at that time. And so when everything settled down, they chose to return to Uganda, and we were taken to schools in Uganda. Unfortunately, when I came into Uganda, when we came back as a family, I only spoke Swahili. I couldn't speak anything else. So getting into school, it was very difficult because, of course, in Uganda, we don't speak Swahili. It was very difficult to speak, to speak English, to speak the local languages in Uganda. So I had to go backwards. So many times in the classes, as I was progressing, I was usually the older one in the class because I had to go back, a number of steps. But it was okay. Somehow I was fitting in. Did my primary school here in a school called Nsube. Then from there, I went to Tororo Girls School for secondary. Finished my secondary, went to Green Hill, did my HSC, then went to university. Where I did a first degree, and while doing actually when I was in my senior 6 vacation, I asked my mom that I wanted to do some voluntary work. I wanted to, to do something other than sitting at home. So she was, at that time, she was working with a non-government organization as well called Forward, and I was taken in as an intern. So I worked there. It really kind of gave me the first experience of working in a civil society organization. They were focusing on work, supporting women to participate in leadership positions and so forth. So it was very intriguing at that age, but it was not yet my time to really, work. I wasn't very sure, but I was trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do. And for me, it was very empowering seeing what was happening in this organization. And when I went to university, I did social sciences, majoring in sociology. So I think my choice for the university for the course that I took was because of what I saw that was happening in this organization. So I did my sociology course, finished 3 years, and after school I told, again I had a conversation with my parents and told them, you know what, I feel Like I want to do the work that I did when I was doing my voluntary work. So do you think you can help to talk to your peers, because they were doing that? My father was in politics, but my mother was doing civil society work. And at that point, I was taken in UCOBAC.
Yes.
As an intern.
Right,
Yes, so it was immediately after university that I joined UCOBAC as an intern. And I started, doing simple work. I was really doing support work in the organization. But I was very eager to learn about what they were doing. It was very interesting, but also the kind of work that they were doing, working with women and children. I thought that was something that was very powerful. I moved to the field with the staff that were in UCOBAC at that time, and did, I would do the support work of giving out paper or serving tea or serving, anything that I could be, asked to do. But in the process, I always sat in the classes for the women and the children, and I would look at how the staff were impacting on these lives. It was very interesting to see how people's lives were transforming, from nothing to something. So really, it built, it built my interest. But also I felt that I wanted to know more about how I can contribute in a more meaningful way in this sector.
Wow.
Yes, so I worked there as an intern for some time, and I didn't feel like I wanted to do anything else. To me, because I had arrived, if I should say.
So basically your mind was corrupted, and this is where I'm going to be.
Yes, I had arrived at that point, because really for me what was very important to me was transformation, was seeing lives of people changing from nothing to something. And the fact that in this environment was showing me that it is possible to contribute in one way or another to change an individual's life. So it exposed me. I came from a background, my parents, I wouldn't say it was a very poor family, so I had not got that exposure. So working in this environment really showed me the reality of the world. I came to see that actually majority of Ugandans were living in poverty, were vulnerable and needed support. So for me, it was fulfilling to work in this organization, and that is how I started my career in UCOBAC.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, if you're joining the CEO bench, that right there is getting you into what we call knowing somebody personally, and of course getting into their life. That is Frances is the executive director of UCOBAC, and she's on the CEO bench. If you're joining us from anywhere in the world, we're live on Twitter, we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, and House of Time /Facebook. Please tell your neighbor and tap your cousins, and this story is going to be a very interesting one. As well as on Twitter, wherever you are, tweet, show, share, retweet, and make sure everybody gets to know what is happening. Frances, I want to just take you straight to this. And in today's changing world, it's rapidly changing world, learning to lead and design our organization to read the turbulence of time creatively is critical to our ability to make positive impact. And this television program is about those that are at the top of doing that, or those that are rising up to the top of doing that, and the focus is on transformational change and the implications for the individuals who are in that space as leaders, or in their organization, or in the culture of the organization, or in our society, depending on what structure that we're in. Your story that you have given in the intro of this interview is very important, but we want to know something more specifically, lining to your organization, which is civil society today. Give us a sneak peek of the life of a woman in that space.
Oh, that's a very good question. The life of a woman in this space is just the same as the life of a woman in any other space. It's not an easy space, especially when it comes to leadership and when it comes to influencing decisions and also influencing processes in any other institution.
Yeah.
So it is not an easy space for a woman. It is a space where a woman has to do something extra or do something more to be able to prove that they are able to do what they should be doing.
Yeah.
So I would say that it's the same. It's very competitive. Many times we see that in many civil society organizations, still we find them to be male-headed, and we're having many women, many girls taking up leadership roles in civil society organizations, but it's not an easy task. It's where we have to really prove ourselves that we can lead these organizations to greater heights. And there's a lot that is involved in the civil society organizations. There's leadership in itself, there's management of processes, there's management of the human resource, there's fundraising, there's research. It's a lot that needs to be done, and many times there is a feeling that is too much for a woman, because she has other traditional roles that she needs to do as at home.
Yeah.
So many times as people are looking for leaders in civil society organizations, the priority is usually given to men, because of our society that feels that men have the time, men have the capacity, men have the ability to lead, to take this organization to greater heights. And women, there will be a problem. They will have to go to maternity leave. They have issues. They are too emotional. They have not done the courses that are good enough for leaders. They don't have time to go for extra learning, or to go for work outside Kampala, because they have to tend to their children. So there's too much that society has tied around a woman. And it's true, we have these traditional roles that we have to do, but does not in any way mean that women cannot lead in these spaces. So it is really changing with time. As more women get into leadership positions, it's changing, and there is more appreciation that is coming towards women, because women have demonstrated, many women leaders in civil society organizations, like in any other institutions, have demonstrated that they are able to excel, to move these organizations to greater heights. So I think it's changing with time, but it's still very difficult for women to take on leadership positions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Francis, I like the journey, and I would want to ask you one more question just before we go into a break.
Yeah.
The leadership journey and the little information about the organization you currently lead. You said you ended up there.
Yes.
Starting into the process of internship, and then luckily your mother ended up taking you there, and now you are in that space.
Yeah.
We want to know more about this organization. What are the issues that you are working on as you go back at the moment? Having started there as a child.
Okay.
I would call you as a child.
Yes, I was a child. I was a child. At that time, I was probably barely 20, maybe 19.
Yes.
A grown-up child, I should say. So the reason why I say my mother took me there, my mother was one of the founder members of this organization.
Yeah.
And she had been in politics before, and then later changed course and decided that she wanted to do something for women and children, because that's her passion. So she started this organization. And I admired her for a long time. When I was little, when I was young, my mother used to do a lot of work around mobilizing women to participate in governance processes. And we tagged along as children at home when she went for trainings in communities. And I admired the way she spoke to people, the way she impacted lives. So when she started this civil society organization, this NGO, I asked her, can I come and work with you? Can I support you in this process? And she took me in, but didn't take me in. She was very strict, because she gave me a lecture at the beginning and said, okay, I'm taking you in, but you're not any special. You're going to come in as an intern. You're going to make tea for the staff. You're going to to type. In those days, they would type. They would handwrite, and then they give you to type so that you can learn. And you're going to it will depend on you, on whether you will get a job or not, because I don't hire. I have a board that hires and fires.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'll take it on. And many times people think that because this was an organization that was started by mother, that it was easy for me. Yeah. It was actually more difficult for me because I had to prove myself beyond. I had to prove to her. I also had to prove to the board that I can be, I can work here. I am not taking advantage of this. I can do my best. I can contribute to this process. So yeah, so I got into this organization, and one thing that I did is that I worked hard. I worked hard at that time with the roles that I was given. I did them to the best that I could do. If it was typing something or going to support staff in the field, I did my best. I did not at any one time feel like, oh, I am someone's daughter, I am special. My mother is she's the founder member here. Yes. No, I did not have that at all. I worked hard, I proved myself. And when there was an opening for program officer, I put in my application. And I competed with many other people, and I was taken on as a program officer in the organization. And still, as a program officer, I worked hard. I delivered. Excellence is always something that I strive for. Yeah. So I worked hard, I delivered, I proved myself. I moved the organization to the level where I felt it should be at that level as a program officer. Yeah. And I have moved in this organization from one level to another. I started off as an intern, I became a project officer, I became a program officer, and now I am the CEO. So it has been growth within the organization that has not been handed to me, but I have worked hard for it. I have had to prove myself. And and I think really what I can say around that is that many times when girls or people are given opportunities in the organization, we take things for granted and don't put in a lot of effort to make sure that we prove ourselves and grow our careers within that organization, or move the organization from one level to another. And for me, that's what I did differently, and that is how I've been able to reach where I am.
Wow. Yeah. So it was not like come here, hand it over a silver plate, and receive it, go with it.
No, it's been really hard work. Yokoback is actually governed by a board. So even if we had we had other CEOs, they saw the work that I was doing in this organization. I was a young girl, but I was working hard. I was striving to learn, went back to school, did my master's degree. I got a master's degree in human rights, came back and tried as much as possible to apply what I had learned. And I think that demonstration of hard work and dedication has really been something that has moved me from one level to another, to a level where I am now a leader in this organization, where I started as an intern.
Wow.
Yes.
Out of curiosity, Frances, why did you choose your mother's path, not your father's path of being a politician? Why?
Well,
why not the politician in your father?
Yes, I know. I've had that question a number of times, and actually some people have always thought that probably I should have taken the political side. But for me, the passion that I have to, like I said in the beginning, the passion that I have to serve communities, underprivileged communities, marginalized sections of the community, for me that is closer to my heart. Yeah. And I think politics is not a bad thing to do. My father did it well. Many politicians are doing it well, but it's not yet my time. Probably, I should say that. But what I'm doing right now is very satisfying. I am supporting women and girls because, as you know, our society looks down upon women and girls because it's a patriarchal society. Yeah. So for me, I use my experience to inspire girls, to inspire women to be better, to improve in their homes, to improve in their places of work, and to contribute meaningfully to the development of our country. And I feel for me that is also politics in itself. If we can support women to be able to participate in leadership positions in politics, that is politics itself.
Yes. Wow, you've heard it from Frances right there. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, the CEO bench will continue the discussion with Frances. And of course, we'll be asking Frances more on the leadership change management and transformation, which is what the show really stands for. Stay right there. We'll be right back after the break. On this show, we brought you the former executive director of KCCA, Andrew Chitaka. You've had a beautiful story coming from him. And we brought you a business philanthropist and, of course, a business mind trainer. Dr. Jean-Paul Olowo was here on the show, as well as, Tony Toa. We brought you Mona Faces. But this particular show today brought you the person with the heaviest vote, the fourth female on the show, Santa Nzo. Welcome back to the program.
It's a pleasure. And Eddie, just before you ask me, I just want to thank you for using your huge platform to educate, to inspire and motivate others.
Thank you,
and
Santa.
Also for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Santa.
Thank you.
In fact, we didn't give you the opportunity. We have no power to give you the opportunity. Those who you serve, who have interacted with your brand, who have interacted with you as an individual, are the very same people who said, we want to see Santa Nzo, and they voted you overwhelmingly. And so we said, our job is to provide the opportunity and the platform for you to be here. And in so doing, we are happy that you are here and you're able to answer some of these questions. So we want to say thank you everybody out there who voted Santa Nzo to come on the show. And I would like to say thank you to my sister from another mother, who is the assistant professor for design communication in Washington University, Professor Penny Nachayo. One of the people who follow what you do.
Oh.
Yes, Daniel Engole, all the way in the US, Soul Reverend, if you remember him.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and Chigola Mwendo, all the way in Germany. Edwin is a resident panelist of Coffee at Endiro. We drink coffee together, yes, so from the coffee place.
Thank you.
So there are quite a number of people, and my wife, who is at home, who follows you quite a bit. So there are a number of people who voted for you. Unfortunately, we cannot pronounce or rather list all their names out, but we want to say thank you very much for them. And Santa, welcome back to the program. We want to dive straight into the question of change management. Santa, change management is a very systematic approach all through your life and your journey as an MD of Arapapa. I hope I've gotten this time right.
Arapapa.
Arapapa. Yes. It's very key. It's tagged and pegged on change management. You are managing change from every angle of your movement to where you are. And we've learned quite a bit in that journey. But I want to take you straight to change management, which is a systematic approach to dealing with transition. The transformation of things, you're transiting from one end to the next end. You've told us the story of how you started as a group. How did you become alone in the group? Are you still with the rest of the group together? You know, and of course, that's a transformation, that's a change, that's a transition of there, of course. And in an organization, we will call it the transformation of an organization's goals, processes, as well as the technologies that they use to manage the process. The purposes of change is normally to implement the strategies and, of course, to effect the image and controlling the change within the environment. Two things often happen when we're doing change management. Number one, we prepare the change. Number two, we craft the vision and plan for the change, which you have stated quite clearly. And then three, we implement the change. What was the journey like in change management? There are millions of people out there, billions of people even, who don't know how to leave one spot of comfort to the next. You are on the runway. You come from an affluent background. Okay? You have come from the upper echelon of university. From the way you speak and express yourself, it's quite clear that your parents were able to take you through. And you present a different mindset of people, not traditionally how girls are always looked at. But this one is a much more straightforward person, level-headed person. How were you able to pull yourself through this? If you would share that journey with so many people who may not get the opportunity, but also the girls who don't know how to move from point A to point B. Those you started with are now seeing you and saying, look at Santa. I wish I had stayed the path, or I wish I've learned something from Santa. The interaction with the international community. Let's dive it from there. Change management.
Wow, you just took me through very, I have had to relive my years as a rapapa right from the start.
Yes.
And but first, let me correct you. I was born, yes, with enough. That is in the mid rule of Idi Amin.
Yes.
But my family lost all of that, and so we had to leave these plush environments. And I am a former refugee, because then Dad was arrested. You know how it was. You were educated those days. That was enough reason to throw you behind the bars. And my dad was arrested, brought to Kampala. Mommy and the rest of us were banished to the village, and the politics of revenge took over. Then government of Idi Amin was overthrown, and the Obote government came in, and there was need to revenge and teach the West Nilers, who, by the way, were not part of the mess that had been created.
Yeah.
We were kicked out of our homes. Our homes were burnt to the ground. This girl born in, Mulago Hospital then was a 5-star experience. And my mom had me there, and she said, Santa, wow, because she had had some in Moyo.
Yeah.
But by the time Santa was born, the family was in Kampala.
Yeah.
But all of these luxuries that Santa was known for, Santa was a girl of, I had milk till I was 5 years. I was just very demanding as a child, and my father made sure. My mom said, no, she has to be like everybody else. We don't have it, we don't, so sort yourself. And Daddy
Are you
would
the last
say,
born?
No. I'm in the
you
middle.
have the last born tendencies.
No,
Yeah.
I'm in the middle, because in the middle, if you don't make yourself hard.
Yeah. Oh, you never. Oh, yes. Yes.
And the firstborn was doing everything right. The lastborn does everything right. Now there's this one in the middle.
Completely. Yes.
Excuse me. So when Mommy would say, I'm not dealing with this. She has children of her own. She has extended family to look after. And then there's her, and then there's Daddy. She said, I'm not dealing with this one. But Daddy always came back home, fed me, made sure I had my milk, But this poor girl ends up as a refugee in Southern Sudan, where even basic running water from the taps in Kampala are not available. So I didn't have it easy growing up. Yes, I was born in it, but we lost it all. And all of our siblings, parents, my mom, Daddy was arrested, which means it was as grim and beaten to near death.
Yeah.
But I was a refugee in Southern Sudan. So I come back from Southern Sudan as a malnutrited, impoverished little girl back to Kampala. And so the journey begins again. And so I just wanted to correct that. No, I didn't have an affluent background, but yes.
You were born in it, so
yeah, but
yes, but losing it along the way is part of the change management.
Yes.
Which I'm lacking right now, and everybody watching the show, that's the part we're looking for. How do you manage that change? The turnaround situation in your life. to the refugee camp, and now to Santa, who is interacting with the world?
I also, again, I'll go back to my parents and thank them, because for Mommy, she was also in this comfort. And now she's a single mother in Southern Sudan with all these children. By then, I think we were 6. So, you know, my mom had to forget that she was a teacher by profession, that she was this wife that had everything that she needed. She now had to dig other people's gardens. So I saw the transformation Mommy went through. So my mom, just like me or my parents, my dad, when he rode in the, you know, UG, Mercedes, sleek black Mercedes Benzes, behaved the same way when later he had to take a bus, a public bus with chickens, fish, whatever, from Moyo to Kampala. He would still be the same father I knew, with the same dignity. And so I watched my parents lose it all, gain it all, lose it all over, but never stop to give and share whatever they had. So just to paint a clear picture, that even when we came back to Kampala, it was struggle again to get up. And then we were all right, we went through school, but then again, let me correct you, I am yet to get a university degree. So before my parents, I still owe them, remember, character, discipline, academics. Yeah, I still have to, you know, and I owe it to them, but also now to myself. To get my papers in order. Although luckily for me, I called a university. I called 2 universities, one in Europe, another in the US, and I said, I am enrolling. I want to do this at a degree level. And they learned through my profile and said, what? Say, you have achieved everything with
exactly, that's my point. So why would you be looking for it now?
I've been offered a mastery PhD, so because of my 20 years experience and the things that I've gone through, and so now I may have to forego the much she talked about and demanded bachelorette. And when I finally go back to school, I am going to be rated at the level of mastery that I have earned in this sector. And yes, so I don't want nobody to get discouraged that because they do not have a degree or, you know, the highest standard of learning or schooling, even with a P7 certificate, one can still make it. I went, yes, up to senior 6. I did train as a fashion designer, have a diploma there. But for me to be everything that I am, there's a wealth of expertise and excellence that is not taught in school. It's taught at home. You get educated, very academic in school, but then life experiences, the experiences we go through day to day, give us the wealth of knowledge and wisdom that we need to actually make it in life. So don't think that because you don't have a degree or, you know, that you know, no, a degree is actually nothing if you do not have the required value systems of successful enterprise.
Wow. That already, let's just take a moment to just take in that one, Santa. I think that on a change management, on a scale of 1 to 10, to me, you've already scored 9, if not 10, because a lot of people don't come out very clearly to talk about this because they fear that there will be stigmatization happening or will come to them. But to see where you are now and what you're talking about now, those two are completely a mismatch. I don't even think you should be thinking of it now anyway.
Well, nobody, let me tell you this, nobody can stigmatize me or look down on me because of a lack of a degree, because before they can do that, they have to beat me at my game across the board, not just design, across the board. And so I am very confident in my abilities,
Yes.
and also in the lack of my abilities. I know what I'm lacking, and I know what to do to get it.
Yes.
So we have to be very careful not to let nobody talk us down. The Christ we follow as a Christian that I follow, I don't see a master's or a degree anywhere. And yet, for us to get to wherever we want to go, he is the path. Be it business, be it politics, be it, academia or a religious calling, you've got to go through Christ to get there if you're Christian.
Wow.
And so we are way beyond material attachments. So I can't be graded in that area. And by the way, I mark university students. I do mark university students.
I don't think that you need anybody to give you a bachelorate for you to be approved, because I think you're way, way beyond the grade itself.
Thank you. But also, I must add that this should not be taken to think that, oh, I can make it, I don't have to go to school. I preach to parents that bring their children, because as it is now, you find that the person that wants to be the next Tarapapa is in primary. With General Katumba Wamala, I was privileged to be invited with him to mentor students of Aga Khan. And I'll tell you, I was shocked that kids as young as 7 and they want to be the next Tarapapa.
12, they're already achieving it.
And I'm telling them that, I'm telling parents that bring them to me, no doubt, when I'm ready. However, I want them to go through all the grades of education, all the levels of education to the highest, if they have the opportunity. I didn't get my bachelor's degree at the time because I chose, against my parents' will, to not go to Makerere University. Daddy would have paid to the last coin of his pension to ensure that Santa gets a degree, but I said, Daddy, it's a waste.
This is what
I want fashion. So I'm very happy.
I just want to hear, when you told your father, this is what I want to do, Daddy, I want to go into fashion, what was his words? I know your mom, you are two different paths when you talked about that. Fashion, from what I hear, being an academician and being a teacher, I'm sure that was not something that she wanted to hear. But I just want to hear, when you told your daddy or your father that this is not what I want to do, what did he say?
My dad is a man of very few words.
You're just about to help a child who is struggling with the same thing with the father or with the mother. The skill sets are completely designed to this. The gifting God has given are completely this, but the parents are saying this is where you're going. I once, Santa, even before you answer that, I talked to a 12-year-old girl, and she said, my mom is everything to me. She's good. She always taught us to be who we want to be and everything, and she always tells me that I can do whatever I want to do. But then sometimes I get confused when she tells me that I have to be a doctor. So the young girl told me, so I don't know whether she wants me to do what she wants or she wants me to do what she has taught me to be, which is to be what I want to be. So I'm confused. So it's on that background that I actually asked this question to help that girl, that boy, that child out there who wants to be something else but doesn't know how to communicate with the parents, and how the response from the parents borrowing from you will help them to change and to make the right footing to the next step. Again,
it starts on your knees. Talk to God about your desires. I want to, at this point, thank so much one of my godfathers, or actually my godfather, Dr. James Magara, for and everything good that I am. May he get the blessings, and for any mistake I've made, please exclude him, because that has been on my own account. If I was to follow the path, I would be a much better person. But let me simply say that he told me to talk to God. Just tell God what it is you want, and if it is within His purposes for you, you will be it.
Yeah.
So to that young girl and young boy, talk to God. Humble up. And don't fear. Don't get also religious and, first go, clean up. What? Just get in a corner. Like Christ says, close yourself in a closet. Pull yourself away from the crowd. And that crowd can be your lovely mama.
Yeah.
It could be your daddy.
Yeah.
But, your best friend. Pull away from them. Go into the closet. Tell God what it is you want in your heart. I did that amidst my chaotic life of a teenager. I did that. And I can tell you that Daddy in heaven, God listened. Because at that time, I was making this decision. God had nicely moved out my mom out of the equation in Kampala.
Yes.
Took her back to the village where she was so thrilled to take up more children younger than Santa and groom them, to grow her orchard,
Forgotten about Santa.
She didn't forget about me. Her
Forgotten
ears were on the ground.
Yes.
But,
what is she doing?
But I thank God that my mom was not in Kampala, because I'm telling you that she went on national TV, on NTV to apologize and to advise parents. I think about a few years ago, she was called and she had to go and apologize and say, I am sorry. But if Mom had been in Kampala, I'm telling you, she would have beaten me. Would have beaten this out of me. Wow. You had to be undisciplined for her. Don't forget, she also had a bit of her upbringing in the convent. She's very organized and very, even now when you go home, you find her in a very ironed, beautiful top and dressed well, tucked in. She's very orderly and lives by the norm. Now, that happened. Manny was taken out of the equation, even Daddy. But when I told Daddy what I wanted to do, he also wasn't here. But his reaction was, he said, okay. But he was like, Santa is impossible to
be successful,
divert once her mind is set onto something. But I believe when he went quiet, he was talking to God as well, like, help my little girl. And so I then had to get a job with a little pocket money he had left me. It ran out, I had to find a job. And then I had to find my way in fashion college, which, by the way, even then was not even available in Kampala. But there was Dolphin Fashion College, so I was led there. But let me simply say that you've got to be, I've said it so many times, but you've got to be a positive big head. The parents, Mommy was doing that not because she didn't want me to pursue my goals, but she did it to protect me. She wants the best. Every parent wants the best for their child. But you, the child, the onus is on you to prove to your parent that you're actually going to put your very best foot forward and try, as you may fail, to be a success story, whatever success would mean. Money, achievements. For me, it wasn't money, because also that wasn't told to me as a child. I'm just learning now that money is a good thing, and I should love money.
But it's not everything.
But, oh no, money is very important. Now, that will be another topic. But I'm having to unlearn the very Catholic background I came from, to unlearn the teachings about wealth and money. Let me tell you, money is very important, and every child should know, without money, certain things can't happen. Dreams are gagged and stagnated, so money is very important. So I won't sit here and talk of money is not. I've learned a lot at this level of maturity. I can assure you that every African parent must buy their little child that book, The Richest Man in Babylon. Let's start there. Let's learn to talk wealth. Let us learn to talk money in a very positive way.
Welcome to the CEO Bench, ladies and gentlemen from all across the world. My name is Eddie Okila, and of course the CEO Bench exists to bring you the stories of people who are on the top, doing it on the top, leading on the top, people who have been through change management, and of course are transforming lives, and they have transformed their own personal lives to reach there, as well as those who are headed to the top. What are their stories? What have they been through? What can we learn from them? Do they have some really interesting experiences to share with us? Yes, they do. And of course, on the CEO Bench this week, this morning, or this evening, or this afternoon, depending on which part of the world you are located, is the one and only the man who needs no introduction, the African youngest man on planet Earth that is doing great and amazing stuff. Been over to the creative industry, done that, is now thinking for different businesses at different levels. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my guest this morning, Bedford Buyungo, aka Professor in the Making. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Great to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you so much.
How have you been?
I'm great.
You have been overwhelmingly nominated to come back to the CEO Bench. Would you like to tell us why would these people overwhelmingly nominate you by over 30 votes to come back to the CEO Bench, yet you have been on the CEO Bench before?
I wouldn't know, but I appreciate them. They are in a better position to let you know. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Bedford, we want to just go straight to our interview this morning. And of course, I want you to just share with us a few of, the things, the journey, and of course, what you have been through and what you're still going through as a person on the top. The CEO Bench is a very interesting, place to be. Mm-hmm. We look at things from a different perspective, and I want to just give you a small background to what the CEO Bench is about. Mm-hmm. One, we focused on individual people who are leaders and in position of leadership. Yeah. The program, of course, is focused on discussion about leadership, change management, and transformation, both at individual level and as well as the corporation levels where you are, as well as the community where you live, mm-hmm. and the nation where you lead or where you reside. All of us are leaders in our nations, but people often think that only people who are defined by political boundaries are the ones who are leading. But all of us are leaders at our levels, and it's important that we keep reminding people that even as a border man on the streets of Kampala or in the streets of any streets of the city anywhere in Africa, you are a leader. Because the things you're doing at that level is leadership. How you change your life from a border person to becoming a taxi driver, to becoming a bus driver, to becoming a pilot is what we're calling change management at that level. Mm-hmm. But also, if you're moving from being a creative person at your level to becoming a creative thinker, to becoming a strategist, to becoming a research and developer person, and for being that person that think for brands and think for businesses and create things, that's change management. True. When we're looking at transformation, we look at the foray of moving from this one space to the next space, to the next space is key for us going forward. And that is what the CEO Bench exists for. And so this morning, I want to ask you this question, which I've asked you before.
Yeah.
If I am looking for a small and fast and quick definition of who Bedford Buyungo is, what would be your definition of who you are?
First, I identify as a Pan-Africanist who has passion for research and development. Yeah. And yes, I'm an entrepreneur, and I think in there has many things. When you talk about Pan-Africanism, it means you're pro-Africa, you're pro-African progress. When you talk about research and development, it has an element of research, it has an element of development, developing products or brands or whatever field you're applying R&D. And when you talk about entrepreneurship, still it speaks to something. And there is reason why those three things. There is reason for Pan-Africanism, there is reason for R&D, there is reason for entrepreneurship. Yeah. And for me, it is that I as a Pan-Africanist, I was like, the only way we can progress Africa is probably through the element of economics. So, yes, I know other elements work hand in hand, but yes, we've tried politics and people have played us. We've tried all other elements, even donor, funding, and we've not gotten to places we've gotten to. So I was like, why don't I get this craft, R&D craft, and be able now to birth products. We, of course, with my marketing and brand knowledge, to birth brands from end to end and go compete in the world. Yeah. And I saw that as an opportunity to birth brands and compete on a global stage. Yeah. Like Andrew Garcia says, he said that Africa needs needs trade, not aid. Yeah. So when you say Africa needs trade, not aid, it means that you need to put something on that table for the people to buy. There is a lot of things that work for you to be able to sell in the States, for you to be able to sell in Asia, for you to be able. But thank God that every region of the world, God has put something unique. So the avocado that I'm going to sell from Uganda is not the same as the one that someone I'm going to compete with from Asia has. So in a nutshell, and I'm reminding people who get confused of who I am, that I'm simple, a Pan-Africanist who has a passion for research and development and entrepreneurship.
Wow. Well, you now know more about Bedford Buyungo. He's more of a professor than just a simple man you know. Of course, if all the professors were as simple as him in their making, I think would go far. And of course, the last time he was here, he said that, I am a self-proclaimed professor. And of course, you can see from there that you don't have to have a definition beyond the boundaries to understand what he has just said and to believe with him. But I would like to welcome you to the CEO Bench, and I would like to encourage you today to make this program as interactive as possible. Share with us what your comments are and even your kisses and disses. When we say kisses and disses, I mean, tell us we're doing very good. We will be able to take that feedback. And if you think we're not doing very well, tell us what you would want to see. And the CEO Bench is here to make sure that you actually have that information. And now straight to our discussion, Bedford. I just want to take you through to a couple of things that people have been talking about.
Yeah.
You have been the newest CEO on the bench of your company. And by definition of a CEO is not just that you have too many. We often believe that to be at a CEO bench, you need to have many layers of system put in place or structures that put in place. And I'm saying, yes, that's true, but what about the CEO who still starts the company from scratch, gets it to a certain level, and start to cross the boundaries and moving to continents? Mm-hmm. And when you cross to the continent, you of course fully now become the CEO definition we're looking for. Mm-hmm. And you've been doing this from the Saint Africa. We've seen the brand cross the borders and become something of a development. You're working on another brand called the Voyage Africa, if I get the name very right.
African
Voyage, yeah. Which is the boat building company. Mm-hmm. And the thinking is great. Mm-hmm. The motivation is great. We just want to start from there. Where do you draw your motivation to think like this from?
I partly tackled that in the first question. There's something called vision, and I think I talked about it last time we were here. Yeah. Once you have a vision, then your picture is about 70% clear. The 30% I'll leave it to God. Yeah. So when you have a clear picture, then the Mzungu or the white man says the end justifies the means. When I want to go to Kampala and I'm using public means, I behave differently from the man who is using public means from Kampala to Masaka. One is going far, one is going near. And by default, when you're seated in a taxi and you're going to Ntinda, the normal saying is Momasao. So you know that it's close, but because you're very clear of where you're going, your behavior follows automatically. It means I don't need to greet my neighbor because soon it's going to be Masao. So the posture even changes. Yeah. When I'm, for example, at the front seat, I'm looking around, and soon I say, conductor, Masao. But the guy going to Masaka or Kigali using Masaka Road, by default, the posture is going to change. The first thing you do is, how are you, because anything can happen along the way. So the vision is very important, and my vision is deeply linked to where Africa is going. And no one has come out to tell us about where Africa is going. The 54 countries have not sat, or African Union, and probably made it clear that Africa needs to be this, Africa needs to be that by this time. It might be there, big documents, but not in one statement that Africa needs to be this. So many of us Pan-Africanists, the doers, the talkers, many Pan-Africanists, or people who are pro-Africa, everyone has their contribution to African progress. Now mine is deeply linked to African economic, African progress. And since I come from the brand world, marketing world, I decided that I will champion the global brands that are coming from Africa. I know many people have gone before me, but mine is to contribute to African brands and see them compete globally, because I know when the African brands are competing globally, that means jobs, that means many things, and that means good life, good health, many things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bedford, a lot of the nomination that came this time around to bring you back to the CEO bench were a number of people who started their companies. From the data we're seeing at the CEO bench here, a number of people who started their companies, and just in 2019, some of them had great aspirations.
Yeah.
They had moved out from their jobs and started something else, and they were doing really great, and they had plans. The visions were clear, the missions were clear, and then the pandemic came from nowhere, and it is accounted for to have started somewhere in China, and nobody saw it making its way in January or by December 2019 and January 2020, it arrived here. Most of us were expecting it to be here a little bit much later because China is really far away from Africa.
Yeah.
But it made its way here quite faster and quicker.
Yeah.
And a lot of these companies, a lot of these individuals that started these companies, that moved from their former employment to start these companies, are now facing a big challenge of even extinction and slipping back to employment. Some of them are really running mad, and talking about guys who started the company by employing from 10 to 15 to 20. I met one of them yesterday that says he employs 45 people from when he started, and now he's going to have to cut down everyone because the vision is not going where it's supposed to be. Pandemic has happened.
Yeah.
How do we help such fellows move forward? How have you been able to do it? Because you've been in the same space. Almost around the same time is when the Saint Africa comes.
True.
And it rolls out and it's working. What would be the best advice to give from the background perspective of a marketer, brand developer, an advertiser, and now an entrepreneur, as well as a Pan-Africanist who is thinking from a different perspective altogether?
Yeah. Thank you so much for that question, and for the people who nominated me along those lines. It's sad what is happening and what is going on in the world, then Africa, and of course our country. It is sad, and no one saw this coming. But even in what I call search Kavio, there is always a blessing. So I'll start by encouraging these people to accept that the foundations are shaken.
Yeah.
You did mention around 29 people had started business. For I think we were online in 2020.
Yeah.
South Africa started selling globally in 2020.
Yeah.
And so the first thing is to accept. So acceptance really takes you far. It means it's going to manage your posture. It's going to influence your posture towards the issues. And I did, when you told me about this, I did write something. Probably that's the reason you call me professor. Yes, it's an interview, but I take the opportunity to teach. And I'm not a professor that has been awarded a degree, and it's just a nickname. So, like I said, the first thing, and our viewers can even get pen and paper, and then we write a few things down to guide us. So I did write 11 points on how to maneuver. I don't know if we have the time to, but I'll be fast. And feel free to interject, and we'll make it interactive, enjoyable, and quite something for our viewers. So like I said, mine was to first accept that the foundations are shaken, because now that is going to help you measure, where the cracks are. But if you sail through and like nothing is happening, then you have a problem. It's like an ostrich buried their head in the sun and think the whole body is not being seen, but the whole of the body is on the other side. So point number 2 is to by not making things worse, is to act. To apply action, to act. And first we said that you accept, and then now we are saying you act. Of course, businesses have different challenges. Like your friend you talked about has 45 guys. He has to think about how to survive the 45 guys, how to lay off the 45 guys. He has different challenges, but it's not just 45. It's the rent, it's the many things. So the thing is to act. Act. If you have a rent, then you need to write to the landlord. Is to act. And pick yourself up, be strong. I know where strength is going to come, because it's hard to tell someone who's lost even friends and family to be strong. But we need to be strong for each other. And part of why we're even spending this time is to help our friends be strong. Is to help them, strengthen their resolve in them, making a way through this pandemic. So the point number 3 that I wrote is dealing with reality, not fiction.
Wow.
You get what I mean? So reality, I talked about in a previous point about when you're talking about rent, for example, that's the reality. You probably rent an office of say $1 million shillings, Uganda shillings, and yes, you need to deal with that reality. You need to write to your employees, to the landlord. That's the action we talked about. But the reality is not dealing with fiction, what people are saying, what you had the other side. You analyze and then you act. The other day, I think I was seen on social media walking, but I wasn't walking for fun. You know what I mean? I wasn't walking for fun. I had a deal.
The business.
I had a business in town. And someone was paying some money for me to do something, and I was like, okay,
can't drive?
I can't drive because I'm not amongst essential workers, and I didn't have a bicycle. So I was like, and in Entebbe, I thought about where to buy a bicycle. Probably I thought they were more expensive. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to walk. So I prepared that night, ate fruits, did all what I thought would take me through the 42 kilometers, and I walked. So as people are enjoying my walking moment, because I shared it on social media, internally I knew that I'm going to finish something. So that way I managed to walk and get to Kampala after 4.5 hours, and I was able to meet my client and then go through that.
So it was actually walking for you to go
to do business.
To do business.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to just hold it right there, and I want to interject from that point. Many of us, when we become CEOs, or by CEOs, I mean Chief Executive Officer. It means that there are smaller other executive people under you here that runs probably finance, human resource, administration, that runs marketing here. But you are now the chief, because you are now looking at things from a visionary point of view, directional point of view, and finding the pathways for us to get there and solving the problem that the team here not. So one of them is to get business and to connect business to them. Then they can do the business. That's the CEO we're looking for.
Definitely.
Yeah. So at that level, and we learned this from a business development manager called Dr. Jinpo Olo. Talked about it on the show here. And we learned something from there, that at that level you're focusing on strategic partnerships and direction. Now, many CEOs at that level can't sit on borders, don't want to walk on the road, and when they can't move, when there's no vehicle, they're always driven. But yet we saw you here with Saint Africa. I don't know whether Ugandans and many Africans actually understand or been to that website to see what Saint Africa is really putting out there. But when we see you walking from there, 42 kilometers to Kampala, and we're enjoying the walk, and you are coming to meet another CEO who is giving you business, and when I learned of the business volume that you are picking from this CEO and going, it was such a very, I would say, mind-boggling situation to see how when we rise to a certain level, we can't come down. What informed your decision to do that?
It's still, I was looking at the business, and I'm like, of course I can't send anyone.
They are also in lockdown.
They are also in lockdown, but also I was meeting the CEO, so he needed to be at that level. So he's like, are you able to make it? And I'm like, yes, I'm able to make it. I didn't tell him how. So I started working, and for me it was what I'm winning for the rest of the company. And of course, when I win that, I win it on behalf of the rest. So it is always on behalf of the rest. I'll go the extra mile. Yes.
Wow. We want to take a break, Bedford, and when we come back, you'll pick it up from point number 4, which is the reality. We are learning from the CEO and as well as the business proprietor, the founder, and you nominated him to come to the show. He has 11 points so far, 3 knocked down, and I think that 1, think about it, if I'm not mistaken. Number 2, take action. Number 3, look at the reality. All right, we'll be right back after the break.
An army of sheep led by a lion will beat an army of lions led by a sheep. That's a fake. So let's be very honest about this thing, and really understand that you need to understand where you lie and where you fall. So it's very important for us to understand that leadership has to be definitive. You can't be laissez-faire. It has to be definitive. You have to be strong, just like a lion. When a lion meets an elephant or a buffalo or whatever, The buffalo and all these animals run away. And yet, by the way, they are stronger than the lion. They are heavier than the lion. They are more intelligent than the lion. They are taller than the lion. They run away. The lion, because of its attitude, it sees lunch. That is a leader.
Mr. Tony Trump, thank you very much for coming to the CEO Bench. And I want to ask you, so if you were elected the President of the Republic of Uganda today, what would be your first State of Nation address? Now, as you look into the camera and close the show.
I think my first State of the Nation address would first of all to... I think I'll just close it down.
The CEO Bench is about leadership, change management, and transformation. And all we've been talking about here, from the votes that came in, the 30 votes that came in, we wanted Bedford Buyungo to come back to the program and give, some nuggets of truth about how we can help our struggling businesses. This is from the Private Entrepreneurs Corner. And of course, I think that he's been able to give that, coming from the background of a brand developer, product developer, marketer, an advertiser, and an entrepreneur, and a Pan-Africanist, thinking at a different level altogether. Bedford, if you will pick it up from point number 10 as we close.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm enjoying the viewers' comments as well.
Yes.
I'm 43 years in August.
Wow.
So I was born in 1978.
Yeah.
And yes, I know I probably look old. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, in a different part of the world, my age, you're very old.
Yeah.
Being there, done that.
Yeah.
In this part of the world,
Very young. You're just starting.
We're just starting.
In fact, we make money when we're 40 plus. They said we start to become serious at 45.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't live a very healthy life to see us enjoy that, because at 40 we are dying. I mean, how many of our colleagues have died at 40?
Yeah.
Because they are not living a very healthy life,
yeah,
and a fit life to be able to enjoy the start of this process of the journey.
Yes.
And so one of the things that I'm trying to do in many of my thinking right now is to turn my skills and my training of health and fitness,
yes,
to be able to make other people become successful.
Yes.
And I believe that if I make them become successful,
yes,
in being healthy and fit,
yes,
I will make money off all my life. The
Great.
reason
Right.
being, if they are successful, they will always not forget the water that, the hand that was feeding them.
Definitely.
I mean, if I train 1,000 people, give information to 1,000 people, I'm hoping that maybe about 500 will come back. The other 500 will throw me off
No,
balance.
the 500 will come.
Yeah, but there's a 500 people who are going to come. So yes, you're right when you say the age. And until we need to pick up from the health and fitness point of view as, CEOs and entrepreneurs at your level you've reached, to be able to think serious. Guys, health and fitness is key. And I think that COVID-19 is helping us settle the boat, the balances, checking us there and right and left and center, that you are home. By the time you're coming back from the 42 days, you probably put on so much weight, the anxiety has kicked in. You cannot think very well for your business because you are unfit and unhealthy at the same time. And that means that your productivity, like Bedford said, in the other part of the world, 43, they are retiring. In this part of the world, 43, we are starting and yet we are dying. So we have not started, we are not even not there.
Yeah.
Unless we're able to work our way stronger and more fitter. But over to you, Bedford. Sorry, I had to interject with that point because you touched something quite very important in this discussion.
No, that's very important.
Yeah.
There is something I call the fast tracking of the African mind.
Yes.
And that's what we need.
Yeah.
In the area of health, in the area we need to fast track our thinking.
Yes.
And if you were miseducated for 19 years, you need to unload the 19 years fast. And then retape.
Yes.
If it was, like the video recording, and
Yes.
retape new knowledge.
Yes.
And then get on the faster lane we talked about,
Yes.
and then run.
Yes.
If it's a race, 100 meters dash, and you're against Usain Bolt and all that,
yes, yes.
just know that
Tyson
Usain Bolt,
Gay, yes.
Tyson Gay,
Yes.
they are at the 50-meter mark,
Yes.
and you're on the 0 mark. Appreciate it that
Yeah,
way. That's
yeah.
how we started.
Yeah.
That you need to appreciate that you are locked down for 42 days.
Yes.
But the other world is moving,
Yes.
and they are much more better than you. They have system, they have addresses, which mean everything. They have social security, they have everything.
Yeah.
And you are at the 0 mark trying to
Catch up with
yeah.
them.
So my 10th point is find someone to mentor you.
Yeah.
My 11th point, I guess.
Yes.
Find someone to mentor you.
Yeah.
I touched about it a little bit,
Yeah.
but let me stress it out
Yeah, yeah.
that we need to find someone.
That
to
is actually point number 10.
Yeah.
We wrapped up 10 and 11 years. You said
Yeah.
you put 11 points. Yes.
Yeah, we need you need to find someone to mentor you in the area of health.
Yeah.
If that's the need you have,
Yeah, yeah.
in the area of business. Like I have a few mentors, and I treat them like fathers. I told you the guy who taught me how to calculate, how to use the calculator was someone who even has no degree, but I appreciated his touch. I mirrored him against people who have degrees and economists, and I'm like, I'm going with this guy who employs 3,000 people, pays them every 2 weeks on time.
Yes. And runs the company that supplies East Africa. And now I think it's Africa.
He's in 9 countries.
Yes.
I'm like, this guy, he has to be my mentor in the area of finance, in the area of numbers.
Yeah.
So occasionally I check on him. Even yesterday I sent him, MZ, I hope you're well. And he said, yes, I'm good. How about you? I said, I'm good. So in the area of spirituality, I have my mentor. In the area of excellence, I have the Michael Jackson guy. You know, he's 64. Dorian Hall is 64.
Yes.
He's retired.
Yes.
He's still you got what I mean?
Yes.
But I'm making use of him.
Yeah.
And guess what? If Michael Jackson paid him,
Yeah.
he's giving me free knowledge.
Wow.
I have Professor Lumumba, because that is the direction I'm taking.
Yeah.
As a Pan-Africanist, I need a Pan-Africanist
Yeah.
who can easily introduce me to people.
Yeah.
I need a Pan-Africanist who tells me, I think you're going on the wrong trajectory. Yeah, I think this is it.
Yeah.
We need Pan-Africanists who not just talkers but doers.
Yeah.
So that's what Professor Lumumba tells me. So occasionally, I think for you to hire Professor Lumumba to speak, you'd have to pay 6,000 USDs.
Yeah.
He gives me that knowledge for free. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Of course, a mentor will have to appreciate your hunger,
Yeah.
and then start,
To feed the anger.
Yeah,
yes.
but these are people who've done things.
Yeah.
And I'm saying they are not leaving me behind.
Yeah.
I'm going with them. Let me go on the Kameme, but I'll reach. Eventually, I'll be able also
Yes.
to
Take
mentor,
over, yes.
mentor others.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's go to point number 11 as we close the show.
Of course, point number 11 is learning from experience. We had the first pandemic,
Yeah.
and if we didn't learn anything, the second pandemic is clearly telling us that the world is on reset.
Yes.
If you think
Yeah.
that you're going to open up a shop, a cloth shop, and sell the way you used to sell before COVID, then it's like you're waiting for the ship at the airport.
Wow.
Things have changed.
Wow.
Things are very virtual.
Yeah.
If you think that your human resource the staff is going to be able to work the way they used to work,
Yeah.
then you're wrong, because these people, while at home, they've been introduced to many other things.
Yeah.
Some of them are learning new skills.
Yeah.
So if you view them the way you used to view them before,
Yeah.
it's like waiting or winking at a woman in the dark.
Wow.
You better stand and appreciate
Yes.
that things have changed.
Yes.
Take stock.
Wow.
Sit down with a paper and pen and say human resource. Plot it and say things have changed. Interview your staff. You know, ask them
Yeah.
what they want to be in 5 years. I promise you they'll tell you different things. They've learned things. Some of them know what is working and what is not working. So I want to thank you for the opportunity of hosting me here. For the viewers who've been watching us, the people who nominated me, and I want to tell them that, or give them encouragement. I shouldn't give. They should still have hope that things are going to be better, and they should look north. And of course, if they are spiritual, God will come to our rescue. And but God has to find us doing something. They need to learn. They need to have their visions clearly written, because that will help the posture they're going to take. And also to remind them that we as research and development fellows are constantly coming up with ideas of how to make things better. For example, we are going to have the cheapest mortgage in the world. And you and I are going to work on that. We'll have the cheapest mortgage in the world. Housing is going to be
something that has never been discussed before, something has never been thought about before.
Definitely.
Something that people have never even thought about in their wildest imagination.
Yeah, housing is going to be a human right. We're going to make it here in Uganda. You and I and our team, we're going to make it happen. It's not going to be that for you to own a house, you've succeeded. That will be the foundation and not the limit.
Wow.
To your success.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Well, Bedford, thank you so much for coming to the CEO Bench today. I would like to say we are really extremely humbled to have you back on the show today. And I think that those who have nominated you have not gotten anything short than their expectations were at the beginning, and that informed their decision to nominate you to come back to the show. And to everyone out there, thank you very much for being part of the show. I would like to say thank you, and we're looking forward to having you anytime we have the vote. The CEO Bench is purely about the vote. You see the person, you don't understand them, but you hear about them and you want them to come. We created this platform so that they can come and share their ideas. 1.5 hours of them sharing their ideas, sharing their thoughts, and of course their experiences in the area of leadership, change management, and transformation. Until then, we want to say thank you and keep it the CEO Bench. Like Bedford Buyunga said, we're working on something. Again, don't wink on that woman in the dark. As the pandemic comes, that's a learning for today. As you come out of 42 days, please put the light, put the glasses, and see the beauty of that human being called the business that God had placed before you. And like you said, you have to make sure that you don't wait for God to find you when you are seated. Rather, God should find you when you're walking. Until then, keep it the CEO Bench. Bedford Buyungo, Ed Your Killer, signing out. How did you, as a child, if you visibly remember, what did you want to be in life?
Well, if I go back, I think I looked at two things as a child. I thought about, I looked up to the skies and I'd see the stars and, see the airplanes flying over. And as I was there, with my dad, looking after the cows, or with my grandma going fishing, or with my grandpa farming, I'd look up and go, wow, what are those things up there? And then someone told me, that's a space station. Go, okay, interesting. And what else is up there? Well, those are stars, and those are airplanes. I thought, well, it would be great, to figure out how those things work. Yeah. And so I guess that was one interesting, passion of mine as a little kid, figuring out how aerospace vehicles work. And I guess that wasn't, something which excited me a lot.
Wow. You said the two things. So how did you end up there? You were fishing with your grandmother, you mentioned, and farming with your father, and grazing with your grandfather. Why were you not able to pick one of these from these, three different distinct people, and then you ended up in the things that are up in the sky with all this interest? What was the motivation like? Was somebody an aerospace engineer? Was somebody thinking about the things up, or it just came to you?
It's, back then, we didn't have Wi-Fi. We didn't have mobile phones. We didn't even have phones,
Yes.
or television. We just had nature,
Yeah.
and that was great, And we had stories around the campfire, around the hearth every evening.
Yeah.
We'd sit down and talk to each other. We lived quite close to national parks, so every now and again a lion would hop over and grab a cow and go and have supper as well. So we shared with the lion. So it was being at one with nature.
Yeah.
But what was important in all that was, allowing one's mind to imagine, allowing one's mind to run, to fly, to really go as far as one's mind could possibly go.
Yeah.
And if I think of looking at things from the space going down, I could still look down and figure out what's going on, on the fishing side. I could look at what's going on the farming side. I could look at what's going on the grazing side, because when you're up there, you can see everything.
Yeah.
But it also helps you appreciate how special the earth is.
Yeah.
So that's I'm most grateful for that natural environment that any kid in a rural village in Uganda or any other part of Africa right now has, that where you see every star, and I believe there is something special about that.